Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Last year, the Warriors tried to sign Paul George and failed. According to NBA rumors, Paul George is expected to be traded again and the Warriors remain interested in the player. Paul George would change the Warriors' game due to his ability to score. The Golden State Warriors are in danger of completely spoiling the final phase of Stephen Curry's career, and it's desperation time for GM Mike Dunleavy. Steph deserves better than to spend his last productive years surrounded by a mediocre roster, but that's exactly what the Warriors look like at present. With a 22-23 record entering Monday, Golden State looks like it might even miss the playoffs. If Curry wasn't as loyal as he is, his hunger for another championship might have convinced him to request a trade by now. The writing's on the wall, the Warriors aren't going anywhere as currently constructed. And while Dunleavy and the rest of Golden State's front office haven't completely laid an egg, acquiring Dennis Schroeder was at least something, they aren't exactly going for broke in the market, which is precisely what's required when you have an aging star playing at a high level. Are the Warriors hesitant to make a big splash for fear of mortgaging their future? That's fair, but Golden State can still take a shot on another star without trading young guys like Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Podziemski. One idea is to take a big swing on Paul George. With the Philadelphia 76ers season an embarrassing mess and George looking like a shell of himself, Philly might be open to moving George before his value plummets even further. Here's a deal that Dunleavy could present to 76ers GM Daryl Morey. Warriors receive Paul George. 76ers receive Andrew Wiggins. Kevin Looney, expiring. Gary Payton II, expiring. Pistons receive Kyle Anderson. 2031 second-round pick, PHI. 2031 second-round pick, GSW. Detroit would have to be looped into the deal to take on Anderson's salary, and they'd receive 2 second-rounders for doing so. This would essentially be a money-saving move for Morey and the 76ers. Wiggins' contract expires a year earlier than George's, not to mention the fact that Wiggins eats up basically half the salary that George does on a yearly basis until then. Wiggins, 29, is in the prime of his career and would be a very nice piece in the starting lineup alongside Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain when McCain returns next season. In terms of a PG-13 trade, Morey could do far worse than to end up with Wiggins and 2 expiring contracts. Based on George's recent performance, the Warriors would likely shy away from this deal completely, but you never know. They've expressed interest in George before, and they might feel that a change of scenery would reactive some of the superstar magic that George can bring to the table. At 34, George is a couple of years younger than most people think, and while past injuries might make his regular seasons inconsistent, he's still a guy who could help you get buckets in a playoff series. How Warriors can rediscover their best asset from 12-3 start. The question posed to Steve Kerr was as direct as the reply from the Warriors coach was emphatic. Have you been satisfied with the pace you guys have been playing at lately? No, Kerr said Monday after practice. Full disclosure, I fully expected that answer when I asked the question. The Warriors have lost 20 of their last 30 games, and they spent considerable time during this nearly 10-week span plotting at a speed perfectly suited for a big, athletic team with numerous shot creators and a knack for getting to the foul line. That, however, is not these Warriors. They're smallish by NBA standards and not particularly athletic. Stephen Curry is their only consistent shot creator, and a shortage of additional such threats leaves him facing double and triple teams. Only 2 teams shoot fewer free throws, and no team misses at a higher rate. Their roster is not built to dissect and exploit half-court defenses. They know it. They have acknowledged it. But their deliberate pace proves they have not embraced the alternative. Golden State's surest path to reach its potential is to defend like a pack of savages, sprint at every opportunity to pile up transition buckets and use depth to pound opponents into weariness. To make fatigue their friend. We talk about it every day, Kerr said. We're 30th, actually 24th, in the league over the last 10 games in pace. It has to start defensively. It has to start with deflections and disruption and turnovers. But it also has to continue even on made baskets. We have to get the ball out quickly and go. We're not doing a great job of that right now. Consider, in winning 12 of their first 15 games, the Warriors ranked 5th in pace. Consider, in losing 20 of their last 30, they're 23rd in pace. Pleas for a faster pace have led to a slower pace. The acquisition of point guard Dennis Schroeder, a noted pick-and-roll specialist, has resulted in more break-tapping on offense. The absences of Draymond Green, missed 7 of the last 8 games, and Brandon Podziemski, missed 12 of the last 14, have had an adverse effect. Those two live to push the ball, and they thrive when the court becomes a racetrack. Podziemski returned last Thursday, but Golden State's overdrive gear has not yet been reactivated. As the Warriors were splitting their last 2 games, only 3 teams were playing at a slower crawl. Their half-court offense has been maddeningly inconsistent. They go through spells when they burn too much shot clock. Or when their movement stops, and the dribbling continues. Their split-action stuff, a staple for years under Kerr, gets clogged and confusion ensues. Until the speed materializes, the Warriors are operating at a disadvantage. Whenever I get that opportunity, I try my best to do so, Podziemski said of pushing the pace. If I'm out there with Dennis or Steph, I try to remind them to try to have that same urgency. But I think if your teammates out there see you doing it, the other 4 guys don't really have a choice. If they see me racing the ball up the floor, all 4 aren't going to stand behind me and walk or jog up the court. It's on the point guards to have that sense of urgency, because if you lead and you're urgent in bringing the ball up, the team has no other choice but to follow you. Consider this, coming off the tongue of the team's youngest player, a call to action. One that, if heeded, will play to Golden State's strengths. Better defense begets better offense. More running means less thinking. Hopefully, we can get some of that back, Kerr said. As I've talked about, ad nauseum, we're not a team that gets layups and free throws. We've got to use pace to get some easier baskets. The next opportunity for Golden State to rediscover velocity comes Tuesday night against the rebuilding Utah Jazz, who are playing at a much faster pace. Then, on Wednesday, come the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are playing much faster than the Jazz. If the Warriors can't make a spirited attempt to outrun either opponent, consider those pleas for pace still unheard. Would the Warriors trade Looney to get under the tax? Kevin Looney is a locker room leader and a Steve Kerr favorite. But with the team at .500, a rookie center getting playing time and ownership eager to duck the repeater tax, he could be gone. Steve Kerr loves Kevin Looney. He's a leader in the Golden State Warriors locker room, and his defense and rebounding were a huge part of why the team won their 4th title of the Steph Curry era in 2022. But he also makes $8 million. The Warriors are $5.7 million over the luxury tax line, and ownership would love to dodge paying the luxury tax for an 11th place team. Sam Vecenie of The Athletic listed a Looney deal as one of the trades he'd like to see this week. The proposed deal would send Looney to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have a fantastic starting frontcourt with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, but a limited group of backups led by Tristan Thompson. The Warriors would send a 2nd-round pick to the Washington Wizards, who would take Cleveland's Isaac Okoro and his long-term deal while sending little-used Anthony Gill to Golden State. What would the Warriors' motivation be? Primarily, getting out of the luxury tax. The trade would save them about $20 million in salary and tax payments, but the biggest benefit would be that they'd get out of the repeater tax. they've been over the tax for the last 4 seasons, only dipping under the tax line during their 15-50 season of 2019-20, after being over from 2017-19. Oddly, in the first Galacticos season with Kevin Durant, the Warriors didn't pay the luxury tax thanks to Curry's dirt-cheap second contract.